There's value in going backwards to find out sort of where you got lost, what got you off track. And if it's something that you can avoid in the future, then make sure that you set yourself up to do just that. Just going back with curiosity and looking at it as an opportunity to learn so that you can move forward.
Welcome to Season 5 of the Coach Pony podcast, and we are here to help you get paid to coach. And sometimes, to move forward, you just need your questions answered. In this Bridgerton-themed season of the podcast, join me and date coach Bobbi Palmer as we answer your burning questions about your coaching business so you get more clients. After building 6- and 7-figure businesses of our own, we've learned a few things. So with that, let's get down to business.
Dear Coach Pony, how do I get back into coaching after a long break? I didn't mean for things to get so off track, but life got a little busy and my coaching business got left behind. Do you have any thoughts for me?
Welcome, everyone. Today, in our high tea party, if you will, here on this episode of Dear Coach Pony, we're going to talk about staying motivated in your business and how to get back on track if you've fallen behind. So I want to just go ahead and dive in. I'm here with the lovely Bobbi Palmer of Date Like a Grown-Up, as always. So Bobbi, what is your hot take on this? What are your thoughts?
First and foremost, you need to know that you're not alone. This happens to so many coaches. It certainly happened to me. Sometimes things can ebb and flow and life gets in the way. So the thing I want to focus on for you is not to beat yourself up about this, not to extend a lot of energy going backwards and regretting and looking at what you might have done differently. Think of it as restarting your clock. You've got a goal, right? So it's really important that you look at that goal. I want you to put it on like yellow stickies around your house so you see it. Look at that goal and look at your forward movement. And when you think about going backwards, when you start kicking yourself, when you start shitting on yourself, as we say, remind yourself that there's no value in that. There's no value in it. You did what you had to do at the time. You did the best you could at the time. And now it's time to go forward and do your best going forward.
So good. I love this. I think we self-flagellate a lot as coaches and we beat ourselves up a lot. And then we kind of get stuck in that sort of victim thinking. When the reality is we know that, at any day, at any moment, we can choose to start over. We can choose a different path. And it's hard to do that. It's hard to let yourself off the hook because as a coach, you care deeply about things. And I know it's difficult, but I love what Bobbi said. So my hot take is very similar to Bobbi's in that respect. Like definitely the very first thing you do is to forgive yourself for getting off track if you need to. And then the second thing you do is to just start to think about how to get your routine back. So I share this because I feel like a routine is an entrepreneur's safety net. We don't have the structure of a 9-to-5 job or the accountability of a boss or a team that's expecting us to show up every day and do things in a prescribed way. So if we can give ourselves a routine and a structure, sometimes that can help support you in those times when your motivation is non-existent or low. And so getting a routine back is a wonderful way to start to get back in the game. And so when I say that, just to be super clear, what I mean is like sit down with your calendar, whichever calendar you use, I happen to use Google, and map out what your routine is going to be going forward in terms of your coaching business. So first and foremost, before you think about what do I need to do or what actions I need to take, let's make sure you have the time that's recurring on your calendar to do that.
Delicious.
And so as a new coach, when I was starting out and trying to make sure I stayed motivated, I sat down and I mapped out recurring time. So I had a block of time on my calendar every Monday for getting organized. I had a block of time on my calendar every Monday for reviewing client homework. I had a block of time, on Tuesday for client calls. I had a block of time on Wednesday for marketing and research, et cetera, et cetera. So I just set all of that up as recurring to help me kind of get back in the game. And then one other thing to think about to get you started is to ask via a personal audit of your coaching business, what do you need to know or do or learn right now to help move you forward? So once you've set up that routine, like what information would get you back in the game? For some of you, it might be you've started a business coaching program like Build a Real Business, and you just need to start redoing the modules again and just get back into your business training or pick up where you left off. For others, it might be the first thing you need to do is to start to re-engage with some old clients and send out some emails and let people know that you're really back in business. The answer will vary depending on who you are and what's been happening in your life. But start to think about, okay, what are the first 1 to 2 things that I need to do now to help move my business forward now that I've got my routine and the time ready to go on my calendar? What will help me the most? And so do a business audit and see what you're missing, where you fell off, and give yourself permission to get back on, and then start making progress from wherever you stopped before. Anything to add to that, Bobbi?
I was just thinking as you were talking, there's value in going backwards to find out sort of where you got lost, what got you off track. So there's value in going back and figuring out what that was. And if it's something that you can avoid in the future, then make sure that you set yourself up to do just that. There's learning in the idea that in the situation where you've lost track and you've sort of dropped the ball, however you want to call it, and just figure out without kicking yourself, without regret, right? Without any of that, but just going back with curiosity and looking at it as an opportunity to learn so that you can move forward and keep going next time.
So good. Yeah. Don't make the same mistake, make new mistakes,
yeah.
Right? Set yourself up for success that way. And actually, I want to add one more, which is another way to help you get back into it that is going to feel probably pretty good, which is always important because we want you to feel good, is to get a community around you. As a way to get back on the horse, I think we do more, we go farther, faster if we're surrounded by people who have the same goal as ourselves. So whether that's joining a free Facebook group of coaches who are working on their businesses, whether that's joining a paid mastermind, hiring a business coach, joining a program like Build a Real Business, which has all of the above, or, something else, just make sure you get a little bit of external accountability around you, because if you have external accountability, you're more likely to keep that motivation and to actually follow through versus just feeling bad and thinking about it, but not actually doing the work. So routine, business audit, and lessons from the past, but about what you might want to do differently going forward, but also where you left off and where you want to pick up. And then also get that external accountability going. And those things will really help you get back in the saddle.
And one thing about that external accountability, you and I have been doing that for years. What's really wonderful is when you get a partner that you really trust and that you can believe in and have that accountability for sure, you also get to complain. You get to bitch every so often. You have somebody who totally understands what your goals are, what you're trying to accomplish, and that stuff happens, right? I mean, shit happens. So it's wonderful to have a community or have a, single partner. It's so helpful because then you get to say, oh man, I'm just feeling this way. And you get to get that out instead of being alone and sort of going down the rabbit hole on it. And sometimes that's why we get stuck, right?
Yeah, we feel isolated. We feel alone. We feel we're the only ones who are suffering or failing in this way. But the truth is we're all struggling.
Yeah.
And it's normal. It's the human condition, and you're not alone at all. And just being able to share that and be in a community is so good for endorphins and releasing some of the stress hormones in your body, which will help you focus and get motivation back.
I can honestly say that if I hadn't had the community in which we met, and then our one-on-one time together, I don't think I would have moved forward like I had over the years.
I will say this is something I love to do. And so I have done this in free groups and I've done this in paid groups. Bobbi and I met in a paid group and I really liked her. I hit it off with, yes, Aww. I hit it off with a couple of people in that group and I mentally cataloged them in my mind because I knew the group would end at some point and everything would kind of fall apart without the paid, without us investing, without the leadership. So I asked Bobbi if she wanted to continue meeting with me for free and just on a regular basis. So we had been meeting weekly as part of this group. And she said yes. I encourage my Barb students to do this. Again, you can do it in a free group. It doesn't have to be paid, but just like go to that extra effort, set up a virtual coffee, just suggest it. Suggest, hey, do you want to mastermind together for 3 months? And, put a time limit on it to see if it works out. And then you can decide after 3 months if you want to continue. And maybe 9 years later, you'll be here. Yeah.
And remember, this idea that I'm thinking the done is better than perfect idea is something too that will really help you keep accomplishing and getting things done and putting things out, because I have fear of implementation. Whereas Christie is like the master implementer, right? She's like working on something and I'm saying, oh, when's your program going to be released? And it's like, oh, 5 months from now. And I'm thinking, what? Like I do it 5 weeks from before. It is really important to remember, okay, you did that before, right? So what? You're not perfect. Welcome to being human, and let's move on.
Tea time, milady. It's time to spill the tea.
So we always like to just share a personal story, whether you're a new coach or an experienced coach like ourselves, that these things plague us all the time. So, I've been working full-time in my business for over 10 years, and I've never really taken a break. I've not had the problem of like life overcame and I wasn't able to make progress. I have had the problem of low motivation though. And it really came to me, I want to say 4 years ago. I can remember a really big slump. What had happened, and the reason the motivation, I got really low motivated, is I was burnt out. I had changed a program from a launch style, which means it was opened a few times a year. And then when it was closed, I wasn't serving clients, to evergreen, which meant we were enrolling new clients every week almost. And it meant people were always asking, I was always serving, and I felt like I didn't have any real break. And I noticed how that showed up in my life is I was feeling really burnt out. I was feeling really unmotivated to do anything, whether it was client facing or business facing or, just back end admin. And I was struggling just to find the joy in what I was doing. So if this is you're not alone. I mean, I'd been a coach at that point for probably at least 6 years full time. And so, in theory, I should have seen that coming and recognized it, but I did not see it coming. And instead I was just extremely grumpy and not making the progress I wanted to make. So what I did in that moment was I first realized why now? Why is this happening now? And the reason had been this program. I loved it, but it was a constant weight, sort of energy drag, not in a bad way, but just I didn't have any boundaries. So I was like weekends, nights, I was always checking in on my clients, seeing how they were doing, working on things. So the first thing I did was reset my boundaries. And, I just had to accept I'm evergreen now, which means, I can't just work really hard for 8 or 9 weeks and then it's over and I'm able to recharge. I'm still treating it like that, but that's not a sustainable life. And then I enforced my boundaries. So when a client reached out and at a time when we said we weren't going to be answering emails over a weekend, late at night, I did not respond. I responded during business hours. And that was really hard for me, but it was a real game changer. And then the second thing I did was I took a break. So I had been afraid to step away because this program was evergreen. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I blink my eyes for a second, it could all fall apart, even though I had a team. But I was like, okay, I got to step away. So the next big holiday, we planned to just shut it down. We turned on our email autoresponders. I told my clients ahead of time, hey, listen, we're not going to be available, which is something I hadn't done in the past, which is crazy to think about now, and just set that expectation. And you know what? Everyone was fine. No one panicked. No one was like, I can't believe you're going to take a few days off. And all of my fears and worries were so ridiculous around this. And that break was so helpful. So helpful. So just letting me rest and recuperate a little bit. And so, those two things, setting the boundaries, taking a break. And then I just started reading and doing some more things that filled me. I love to read historical biographies. I love to read fiction. And I just sort of let myself do a little bit more play in my life and purposely seek out the things that gave me joy and make more time for it.
Delicious.
All of those things together really helped me. So I'm just here to say, if you've been in a business for a while, or in a job for a while, that this, it happens. It's okay. It's normal. Just start to figure out what the cause is and then start to set some new boundaries for yourself. And I think you'll be in better shape. Anything to add to that, Bobbi?
I've done the same thing. I think you burn out or there's life reasons. So for me, I've moved several times in the past 10 years and I've just learned you have to know and be realistic. I am not going to have time to do business. And I don't think I'm going to want to, because I'm going to be focusing on that. And you said it. You have to give yourself permission to just stop. And people are fine, by the way. Your good clients and the ones that know you, they're going to be glad that you're taking time for yourself. That's what my clients always say. So like you said, nobody died. Everybody was fine. And for me personally, that kind of thing, like shutting down like you did, is really helpful. So just do it in advance. Like, don't wait till you get so burned out, and think about what's coming up in your life and give yourself permission to take really official breaks.
Thank you.
Natalie Sisson was on our season 4, How We Built This series. So go check out her episode if you're interested. Said something to support what Bobbi said that I loved. She said, life has seasons and business has seasons. And sometimes you're just going to be in a season that might be a little bit more winter, sometimes more summer, sometimes more spring, meaning like you'll have different things in your business that'll work for you. And it's okay to change. And recognize that in the season of winter, you might just be kind of coasting a little bit and just kind of doing your delivery work. The season of spring, you might decide you want to launch something new or take on a new project. And that's okay too, to recognize that you're not always going to have the same level of energy throughout the year or throughout the lifetime of your business for certain things. And that's normal too. And so we have to give ourselves permission to just recognize we might be in a slow season, a low tide as well. And that's okay.
And if you're new, if you're relatively new, that's still okay. You don't have to do it after 6 years. You can do it after 6 months.
And actually, if I can add one more story, because apparently I am long-winded today on this tea time.
I'm not snoring yet, but
one of my I'll keep it short. One of my biggest regrets actually is I was a consultant for a long time in DC. I'd gotten some business training, got certified as a CPC, and set up my website and all that other stuff while working full time, which I think is totally a fine thing to do, by the way. You can do a lot of your business training while you work full time because you can do it at night and on the weekends, and it's great. It's really good to get some of that training done before you take the risk and make the leap. But what I did not do, and I regret to this day, is I took no time off. My last day of work was a Thursday. The next day I went to a conference and started networking my socks off and, trying to market myself. And, it was a Friday. The conference was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I was so wiped out and stressed from this shift. I didn't even make it to the conference on Sunday. I was only able to go Friday and Saturday. But then, Monday I was back in it. I wish I had taken some time off. Even a week would have been great to make that life transition. So I guess this is a long way of saying, take more breaks, you guys. Rest is a productive business activity. With that, should we take a moment to talk about how these podcasts get made and what brings us together? And it's 2 things. It's chocolate and build a real business. So the chocolate I want to feature today is almond peanut butter cups. I've decided that because they're almond, they are healthier, and therefore it's okay. So I'm just putting that out there. Almond peanut butter cup, go enjoy. And then, of course, we're also brought to you by Build a Real Business, which is the Coach Pony step-by-step proven program helping you build a business full of happy paying clients. We're the only program out there that doesn't just teach you the basics. We stick with you for longer. With just 1 or 2 paying clients, you've paid off your whole Build a Real Business investment. So if this sounds interesting to you, please come on over to coachpony.com and learn more about it. Bobbi, let's talk about the actions someone who's feeling really unmotivated can take. So here's your homework.
1.
Bobbi, homework 1.
I'm going to take yours. Set up a routine and do that by getting to your calendar and blocking off time.
2.
Homework 2, do a personal audit of your business. See where you left off and what you think would help you the most right now, and then get started on that.
3.
Homework number 3 is go backwards with kindness to yourself and figure out what got in your way last time and make any plans that you need to avoid that next time.
4.
And homework number 4 is get some external accountability in place, a friend, a fellow coach from your certification program, someone you meet in Facebook, join a program like Build a Real Business, something to help you be accountable to making progress. It's a good mind hack to make sure you stay motivated.
5.
Last one, take a break. If you're really unmotivated and burnt out, take a break. Take a night off, take a weekend off. If you can take a week or longer off, just know that when you come back, you'll get back into that coaching routine. If you take a break, a lot of problems will be solved. So, Bobbi, any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
My usual one is just to be kind to yourself. The person that asked the question is probably kicking themselves a little bit. It's okay. This happens to all of us, and I'm excited to find out what happens going forward for you.
Me too. Thanks for that, Bobbi. And with that, this wraps up this episode of the Coach Pony podcast, and we will see you on the next one. As always, thanks for listening. I appreciate you. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with another coach. And if you need more practical business help, for the love of chocolate, please go to CoachPony.com and sign up for a free guide and business training designed to help you get paying clients. We'll see you over at www.coachpony.com.